Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Right, we're going full YouTube today as I react to some of your unpopular footballing opinions. I put out a call to arms on Twitter on Monday night and you responded in your droves, so thank you to everyone who's contributed. And if you're wondering why you didn't get a chance to contribute to this video, it's because you don't follow me on Twitter. I'm at HITC James, and I promise now that WrestleMania is finished, the wrestling tweets are done for another year. Right, let's check out some of your unpopular opinions. At Lloyd is Lit says, "You are peng." I mean, have you seen this hair? Every time I cross the doors, I'm scared a bunch of birds are going to set up a nest in there. But thank you for the thinly veiled dig that you think that's an unpopular opinion. Not really sure what it's got to do with football though. Super Sadio says, "You have a better chance of winning the Ballon d'Or than Robert Lewandowski." Well, I don't mean to brag, but I did score twice on my return to 7-a-side on Monday night with a full tummy of burger and chips, the fuel of champions. Did Lewandowski score on Monday night? I don't think so. The debate will rage on forever about who is better. Honestly, I don't want to get into it, but if the Ballon d'Or had happened last year, Robert Lewandowski would have won it. That man was absolutely robbed, and I've no idea why they didn't just do it. I mean, just because there's been no fans in the grounds doesn't mean that football totally stopped. I suppose it did for a few months. Anyway, Jacob says, Lewandowski wouldn't get 15 goals in any other top league and would struggle to hit 10 in the Prem. What the hell's this kid smoking? If any of you out there are friends with this lad, check on him, just see if he's alright. How can you look at Lewandowski and think he wouldn't score goals in another league? If Callum Wilson can score 10 goals for a Newcastle team that was allergic to attacking once upon a time, then I think Robert Lewandowski can manage double figures. Christ's sake man, there's unpopular opinions, then there's this. Tom says, Mason Greenwood is the English Macheda. Right, so let me get this straight. You think a 19-year-old English lad who's already got 13 Premier League goals is just the English version of a lad who no one will remember if it wasn't for Martin Tyler busting it up when he scored that goal against Aston Villa? Macheda only managed 4 Premier League goals for Manchester United, and now he's having to spend his days in Greece after scouring Europe to find a club where he can actually score goals. I can guarantee you that won't happen to Mason Greenwood. The kid is an absolutely incredible finisher. He's one of the best in the country, and he's only 19 years old. Look at Marcus Rashford. He's a great player, but he's not as good a finisher as Mason Greenwood. In fact, here's an unpopular opinion for you. When both of those players have finished their careers, Mason Greenwood will have scored more Premier League goals than Marcus Rashford. And probably Federico Macheda as well. All that doesn't really take much. Rafi says, Brighton, if they had a better squad, could fight for Europe. And if we had more subscribers, I wouldn't have to film this on a bloody iPhone. If I was taller, a bit more athletic, stronger, if I could tackle, if I could finish, if I could pick the right pass. If I wasn't terrible in the air, if I wasn't shorter than the average man, if I could run without looking like I was dragging a caravan, then I'd be a Premier League footballer. But yes, if Brighton had a better team, they could fight for Europe. Sorry Rafi, that wasn't quite as profound as you thought it was. But technically you are right, so let's move on. BB says, the away goal rule is awful, and if it wasn't already a thing, nobody would support it. I mean, first of all, what's that Twitter handle even meant to be? It's like he turned away for one moment setting up his account and a cat wandered over his keyboard. Or he thought having his bank account number as his Twitter handle would ensure he wouldn't forget it. But whatever, I don't even think this is an unpopular opinion. The away goal rules is stupid. Why should you be rewarded double just for scoring a goal in a different country? It doesn't apply in the group stages, so why should it suddenly apply in the knockouts? I get why it was brought into the game back in the day. It was to encourage teams to attack more after spending about 10 days to get to an away game. But nowadays, what's the point? I mean, this year's Champions League's made an absolute mockery of it. You've got teams playing at stadiums that aren't even their home grounds, yet they could still be buggered by the away goals for conceding a goal in a stadium that isn't even theirs. It's a stupid rule, and as at whatever it was said, no one would be asking for it if it wasn't a thing. Sasha Rudolov says, the Champions League should be in more of an FA Cup format. Right, it'll never actually happen, but I actually think this is a class idea. The group stages of the Champions League are boring. Every season it's the same teams winning. As soon as the draw's done, you can basically predict who's going to go through, and 9 out of 10 times it's the same teams from the season before. The quality of the Champions League is unrivaled, but it's a proper monopoly set up so that the biggest teams have got the best chance of succeeding. Which is fair to a certain extent, but imagine early on in the season having a knockout tie between Real Madrid and Barcelona, all the while Ferencvaros make it all the way to the quarterfinals thanks to some decent draws. A round robin style for the Champions League would be absolutely perfect, but it would need to be heavily seeded just so that the big teams actually go for it, otherwise there's no way they'd vote for it. Anyway, it's not going to happen anyway. If anything, the Champions League is going to become more set so that the big teams thrive every year. Forget the likes of Spartak Moscow or Dinamo Kiev, they've got no chance, if they did at all. Are they even in it this year? Don't think they were, can't remember. Or were they? It doesn't matter. Braden says the A-League is a ridiculously entertaining league and more people should watch it. I mean, considering the only time I've ever watched the A-League was about a year ago when it was the only league still going, I think I'll pass. I mean, it was great to see Adama Traore banging in the goals, but between there being a Premier League game pretty much every second of the day and the massive time difference, I just don't really have time for the Australian League. I've barely got time for the English one, to be honest with you. Liam says, Mason Mount will have a more individually successful career than Phil Foden and Captain England. Right, I love Mason Mount, but Liam, I'm not even sure that's true already. It depends what you class as individually successful. I mean, surely it can only be determined by the level you play at, the club you play for, the amount of trophies you've won, the amount of goals or assists you've got, your performances. And at the time of writing, they've both got about the same number of Premier League goals, while Foden has already won 2 Premier Leagues, an FA Cup and 3 League Cups. In contrast, Mason Mount's biggest honour so far is being Frank Lampard's emergency contact in case something goes wrong. Mount is a great player, but considering he's 2 years older than Foden, I don't think there's any chance of him having a better career than Phil Foden. Jamie Burgoyne says, Luke Waterfall should start for England. For those of you that don't know, Luke Waterfall is a man who currently plays for Grimsby Town and has never played at a higher level than League One. But sure Jamie, why not? Kyle says, Sunderland are greater than Newcastle. Come on Kyle, don't embarrass yourself, you won a pizza competition the other week for goodness sake. Linksy says, considering the atmosphere and current situations in football nowadays, it is understandable that you fall out of love for football and no one should shame that person for it. Whoa, things are getting serious on HITC Sport. But to be honest with you, it's hard not to agree with that. And if you are one of those people who are falling out of love with the game with everything that's going on, just please check out your local non-league team and go and watch them when it's allowed. Non-league football is the absolute heart of the game. It's full of great people, it's football in its purest form, and it's just a grand old time. A few years back I started to go and watch South Shields, and honestly it's some of the best fun I've had at live football, and it got us all the way to Wembley, which is better than I can say for Newcastle. David says, in a war of football knowledge, you and Alfie would defeat Michael any day. I mean, why there's a war I'm not sure, but do not sleep on Michael's football knowledge. The man's like an encyclopedia for Naughty's Premier League action. Genuinely, it was one of the first things I noticed when I first met him in the deep dark depths of Sunderland University. That and he was a little bit gobby, to be honest with you. And when it comes to Alfie, he knows so much about football, I wonder if he actually has time to, well, just breathe, to be honest. But in a 2-on-1 affair, I think we'd probably come out on top. I mean, it doesn't matter, I don't think this is ever going to be proven. I don't think the great HITC quiz is ever going to take off anytime soon. Or maybe it could, it probably won't. Louis says, James Maddison will never make an England major tournament squad. Sadly, I kind of agree with this one. James Maddison is a great player, but he's not quite on the same level as Phil Foden, Jack Grealish and Mason Mount. And those 3 players are much more versatile. They could play a little bit deeper, they could play out wide on the left or on the right. Whereas James Maddison's only really at his best when he's playing just off the striker. And after his latest misdemeanour off the pitch, I think Louis is right. I don't think we'll ever see James Maddison at a major tournament. Unless of course he finds an Irish passport. Johnson says, Jordan Henderson shouldn't be anywhere near England's starting 11 for the Euros, especially if they play with a back 3. Nah, no way. If Jordan Henderson is fit, he has to start for England. And there's no way we should play in a back 3, full stop. We need some kind of steal in midfield. We can't just hoy all the creative players on there like it's a game of FIFA and just hope for the best. I think you need at least one of Henderson, Rice or Phillips in there. And to be honest with you, it'll likely be 2 of them. It's the perils of having so many good attacking players, but we can't just go gung-ho and hope for the best. It didn't really work for Kevin Keegan in the 90s, did it? If Henderson is fit, he starts. He's experienced, he's a leader, he sets the tempo, and he can do both sides of the game. Has to start. Matt says, Reed is better than Phillips. I think that says it all, to be honest with you. Niran says, chess is better than football and it's not even unpopular. I don't even think you believe that, Niran. Michael says, DeMar DeRozan, greatest NBA player of all time. I don't know who that is, but isn't Michael Jordan the greatest NBA player of all time? I don't even like basketball, why are we acknowledging this? Joel the Giraffe says, Joel Matip is one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League. I don't know why, but I'm sensing a bit of bias here. I'm just getting that kind of vibe. Ryan says, Fabio Silva is just Jessica Knappett in a Wolves shirt. What, the last from the Inbetweeners movie? Ryan, get your eyes tested, son, they're clearly not working. Mr. Anonymous says, Traore greater than Salah. Christ, it's no wonder you're anonymous with opinions like that. That might be one of the most ridiculous and worst things I've ever heard in my life, and I've seen N-Dubs live. Just because Adama is quick and can run past players doesn't make him a great player. Sure, it looks great on Match of the Day or on a YouTube clip with a banging dubstep track over the back of it, but 9 out of the 10 times he either runs the ball out of play or puts a cross into absolutely nowhere. I mean, even comparing him to Salah is ridiculous. Salah is one of the best players in the Premier League right now, while Adama Traore isn't even the best player at Molyneux. Unless of course you meant Lucina Traore, that man was an absolute machine on FIFA back in the day. Ben says, the Arsenal invincible season wasn't even that good. Only won 67% of their games and got lucky draws. Chelsea 04-05, Man United 98-99 and 07-08 and the Centurions were better. Oh, for goodness sake, how on earth can you say that the team that went unbeaten in the whole season weren't even that good? Yes, there have been better teams over the years to have lifted the Premier League title, but seriously, only once has this been done in the history of the Premier League. That's how good that Arsenal achievement was. Sure, it might not have been the best of teams if you compared it to the City team or that Man United team that you mentioned, but it's only ever happened once. Just put some respect on that Arsenal team's name, for goodness sake. If it was so easy, loads of teams would have done it. DJ says, the United States team has the talent to make it far in the World Cup. Quite a few people said this, to be honest with you, so I'm not sure how unpopular it actually is. But sure, with Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie and Giovanni Reina coming through, the USA have got an exciting group of young players who can take them much further than they've gone before. But I say this from a point of ignorance. Have the USA got any actually half decent defenders? Because it's not like the NFL where you can just bring on a defensive team and an offensive team. Is that how the American football works? I don't watch it, it's crap. Daniel says, Alan Shearer isn't even top 3 strikers in Premier League history. Aguero, Henry and Kane are all far better. Right, a striker's job is to score goals. Alan Shearer has scored more than all of them. I don't understand this argument that Alan Shearer isn't considered the best Premier League striker of all time. In terms of being a player, yeah, Henry was better, but as an out and out striker, it's got to be Alan Shearer. The man scored 260 Premier League goals in his career. He also won it with Blackburn, and he would have scored even more goals if he hadn't had such bother with injuries. Next you'll be telling me Danny Drinkwater is better than Steven Gerrard because he won the Premier League title. And finally Luke says, Declan Rice is bang average. If he still represented Ireland, nobody would care about him. Okay, so now we know what the Irish guy's burner account is. Right, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much to everyone who contributed their opinions on Twitter. You can follow me at HITC James if you want to just keep peppering me with them. I mean, they won't make it into a video, but I might read them. I'll read them. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to HITC Sport. And until next time, we will see you around.